Wikipedia.
It's a green dog, very good. Yeah, it's a green dog. What's this? What's this? It's a yellow dog. What's this? What's this? It's a light blue dog, very good. What's this? What's this? It's a red dog. What's this? What's this? What color dog? Blue.
It's a standing dog.
It's a standing dog. Wow, very good. What color is the dog?
Alright class, today I'm going to give you a dialogue and read it, and I want you to listen to me very carefully, okay, and note please. Now we have two people walking along the side wall in the town, and they know each other, and as they meet, they stop to talk, okay? Now listen to me. Hello Bill, hello Liz, how are you? Fine, thanks, and you? Fine. Where are you going? I am going to the post office. Okay? Now we will repeat it again. We will repeat together. But now I want you to a bit stumble at the line, I am going to the post office. Okay? You are the students. Okay? So, okay. Now repeat after me. Hello, Bill.
Hello, Bill.
Hello, Liz.
Hello, Liz.
How are you?
How are you?
Fine, thanks. And you?
Fine, thanks. And you?
Where are you going? I'm fine. Where are you going?
I'm fine. Where are you?
I am going to the post office.
The Silent Way is an approach to foreign language teaching that was developed by Caleb Cateño in the early 1960s. And it's a unique approach to foreign language teaching and learning because, since it's called the Silent Way, and at first people say, well, why is it called the Silent Way? If it has to do with language and language learning. Well, it's silent way because the teacher is silent and can focus on the learning of the students. So it's unique also in the sense that there is no textbook use, and we do use props that facilitate learning.
Show me your cards. Very nice. Look at your friends. Okay. This side.
Teacher.
Yeah. Very nice. Choose one. Okay, bad luck. Very nice.
Next, we will see a demonstration of a method called Community Language Learning, or CLL. Based upon the more general counseling learning approach to adult education developed by Charles Curran, CLL calls upon teachers to become skillful understanders of their learners as whole persons. Becoming a skillful understander means recognizing and accepting the struggles students face as they attempt to internalize another language. Watch how whole person learning is put into practice in the CLL demonstration lesson by my colleague, Bonnie Manel.
Okay. Fence. Can someone describe a fence for us? Okay, a fence divides one thing from another. Okay, sometimes we have a fence between two houses. Okay. We have a fence around a garden to keep the animals out.
Is it always outside?
Is a fence always outside?
Yes. General. To limit.
How many people have a fence around their house? What is it made out of? Wood. Wood? Iron sometimes. A fence out of trees, we call that a hedge. Okay. Okay, as I said, we're going to work with these now for pronunciation. All right? And we're going to do that in a way that's a little bit different perhaps than some of the ways that you've worked with pronunciation. You're going to be the ones who are saying the words, and I'm going to be the one who's repeating the words. You're in control. Okay, we want to read the first word? Clean. Clean.
Clean.
No, don't. Fence. Fence.
Relaxed. Relaxed. Okay, so listen to the words, listen to music. Okay. Tripping out. Spinning around. I'm underground, I fall down.
Teaching a foreign language by using TPR resembles the way that children acquire their first language. They listen, watch and imitate long before they start speaking themselves. This multi-sensory processing of language takes place through the simultaneous activation of the child's visual, auditory and kinesthetic senses. This helps the child to gradually understand new language in a holistic way. It's learning by doing in the best sense of the word.
Plane, plane, plane. Car, car, plane, car. Teddy, Teddy, okay. Plane, car, Teddy. Plane, car, Teddy. Doll, doll. Plane, car, Teddy, doll.
Now that the students have learned the key words that they are going to need, let's see how Herbert gets them to understand sentences by listening to instructions and imitating his actions.
Now, stand up, please. Stand up, please. Okay, good. Fly your plane. Fly your plane. Drive your car.
What's important here is that the teacher adapts his or her teaching pace to the student's pace of learning. In other words, the teacher introduces the sentences gradually and one after the other, and always repeats the previous sentence or sentences before introducing a new one. What's also important is that the teacher strictly keeps to the order the sentences were presented in. Next, we'll see the second phase, where Herbert gives the instructions, and it's important, remember, that this is done in the same order as before. But this time, he doesn't give the students a model for the actions. So the children have to listen and carry out the instructions without seeing the teacher act them out. Being in a group gives them security, and they're learning from one another.
Now, I'm going to sit down. No, you don't sit down, you stand up. You stand up, please. Yes, okay. Now you do it. You do it. Fly your plane. Drive your car.
As you can see, for the students, action stories are fun. And at the same time, they're an important way of making the children feel that they can understand the target language from the very beginning.
The natural approach. The natural approach method was developed by Tracy Terrell and Stephen Krashen. It is based on the language acquisition theory developed by Krashen. The native language should not be used in the classroom. A lot of vocabulary should be exposed to the student. A lot of activities should be developed. The natural approach is a method for beginners based on observation and interpretation on how a person acquires his or her first language. It rejects the formal organization of language. It is not based on grammar. It is based on communication. It emphasizes comprehensible and meaningful practice activities rather than production of grammatically perfect sentences. This method appeared in 1983 in a book called The Natural Approach, written by Tracy Terrell and Stephen Krashen. The natural approach works based on the use of language in communicative situations without recourse to the native language and without reference to grammatical analysis. The natural approach is based on the principles of naturalistic language learning in young children. There is an emphasis on exposure, on input. The central component of language is not grammar, it is communication. Language is viewed as a vehicle for communicating meanings and messages. Communication.
Created using Powtoon.
What is content-based instruction? The teaching content is an educational project based on the introduction of a variety of topics. from the academic disciplines or culture of the target language, using the medium of language. These discussions promote a proper social context in which communication occurs and, therefore, learning. The fundamental idea of the teaching content is that the prioritization of content on grammar in the second language classroom and the opportunity it offers students talking and thinking in a second language, using it in a relevant, authentic and significant environment, improves not only the competence of the students in that language, but also enrich their cognitive development. These studies indicate that learners show higher levels of activity, greater acceptance of language and subjects, spend more time and effort, and general improvement in attitude towards language and learning situations. First, the content-based learning creates a context in which it has significant communication, because the focus is on content and not language. The basic factor determining the planning of everything, it is not necessary to seek communicative situations, but the conversation about academic subjects is itself a unique communicative situation. This connects to the second factor in content-based education. Opportunities to use the second language are more natural, more frequent, and lead to greater motivation and interest. Similarly, there comes a better learning because information based on content is easier to remember than the grammar-based information. Finally, the teaching content is centralized in students. Procedure. Development. There are many ways to approach creating a CBI lesson. This is one possible way. Preparation. Choose a subject of interest to students. Find 3 or 4 suitable sources that deal with different aspects of the subject. This could be websites, reference books, audio or video lectures, or even real people. During the lesson, divide the class into small groups and assign each group a small research task and a source of information to use to help them fulfill the task. Then, once they have done their research, they form new groups with students that used other information sources and share and compare their information. There should be then some product as the end result of this sharing of information, which could take the form of a group report or presentation of some kind.
Models. Since the 1970s, there have been quite a few educational initiatives that emphasize the acquisition of a language through content. Some of them are language across the curriculum, immersion education, immigrant on arrival programs, languages for specific purposes. Organization of subjects. In content-based lesson, the teacher uses active learning strategies to reach his goal that students can learn the content of the lesson. Keeping students motivated and interested are two important factors underlying content-based learning. Motivation and interest are crucial in supporting student success with challenging, informative activities that support success and which help the student learn complex skills. When students is motivate and interest in the material he is learning. That student makes greater connections between topics, elaborations with learning material, and can recall information better. In short, when a student is intrinsically motivated, that student does better in school. Learner role. Students are actively involved in a content-based classroom setting. On the one hand, they are in charge of their own learning process and their support of others. And on the other hand, they might partly choose content and activities. Teacher role. Teaching the content-based approach necessitates a large amount of work and energy. The teacher has to fulfill several roles, such as being a good language teacher and, in addition, having an appropriate knowledge of the subject matter. In addition, the teacher has to choose material and adapt them to a student. In conclusion, there are some advantages and disadvantages of the content-based instruction. Advantages. It can make learning a language more interesting and motivating. Students can use the language to fulfill a real purpose, which can make a student both more independent and confident. Students can also develop a much wider knowledge of the world through CBI, which can feed back into improving and supporting their general educational needs. CBI is very popular among EAP teachers as it helps students to develop valuable study skills such as note-taking, summarizing, and extracting key information from tests.
Hello, my name is Jason. I'll be your teacher today. And today we're going to talk about this. Fun. Fun. What is fun? Right? Happy, okay. Interesting. You know, fun things to do we're going to talk about. For example, I like to do many fun things, and fun for me, shopping. Yeah, who likes shopping? Oh, really? Where do you like shopping? Where?
Coco Park.
Coco Park? Central Park? Supermarket? Okay. Look into your book here, and you'll see some pictures. Do you see the pictures?
Yeah.
Yes. Now the pictures, they match some of these words. So if we look at the first one, it says shop. Yeah? Shop. Which picture matches shop? The last picture. What do you see in the last picture?
So many gifts.
Okay.
There are many gifts.
Many gifts. Yeah, exactly. You shop for gifts. Okay, there's a few others. There's swim. Try to find swim in the picture.
The first one.
The fifth one. Yeah. What do you see in that picture?
She jumped in the water.
She's jumping into the water.
Yeah.
I can see the run, jump, the water.
Okay. I will give you 1 minute to match them all up. Okay? I'll give you 1 minute. Do it alone. Now, let's look outside. Look outside. What kind of day is today?
Rainy. Sometimes rainy, sometimes sunshine.
Today.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a mixed day, but right now it's a cloudy day.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy cloudy days?
No.
Yeah.
I hate.
Okay. Hate. Okay. So we have sort of a rainy day.
Rainy day. Yeah.
Who here works? Does anybody work?
I have work.
You have work?
Yes.
Do you work every day?
Yes.
Are you working today?
Yeah. Yes. Afternoon.
Oh, in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You work every day?
Yes.
Okay. Do you work every day?
No.
Oh, okay. What do you call that? A day you don't work. It's a special
Day off. Day off.
Oh, very good. All right. We have a day off.
休息嘛。
Short rest.
A short rest. A day off.
Day off. Day off.
So, when is your day off?
Weekend.
Always holiday.
Weekend.
On the weekends.
And holiday.
And the festival.
And the festival. Okay, let's look at what the book says. Go to A.
Yeah. What do you like doing on your day off on a rainy day at home?
Mm-hmm. What do you like doing on your day off or on a rainy day at home?
Watching TV.
Watching TV.
Yeah.
You enjoy playing computers. Okay, on a rainy day.
Eating.
Eating.
Oh, eating on day.
What is
Eating. Okay, what do you eat?
Snack.
Snacks.
And then 1 hour or 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours.
2 hours. Maybe we play 2 hours. Okay.
不要紧张。
For the preliminaries.
2 hours play mahjong.
Okay. You guys only have 4 minutes. So we have to start recording. Time's up, everyone. Okay, focus on me. Focus on me.
就已经完了，真是。
Okay, here we go. This is how it's going to work. This team here, the group, they're going to present their ideas.
Yeah.
But you guys are going to ask, this group is going to ask some questions. For example, if this group says, go shopping, this group will ask,
What are you shopping for?
what for? Where? You guys have to give me a quick answer. 3 seconds to answer. Okay? 3 seconds. Okay, you ready? Presenter. Who's the presenter? Oh, you ready? Okay, good. Okay, get ready for the questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first 2 hours we are playing mahjong. The third hours
Where?
we are playing the mahjong
At home.
at home.
Oh, okay.
But you are a fire person.
Yes, and
Yeah,
she
we are.
will cook.
No.
It's alright.
Okay. And then the third hour we are preparing a meal
Where?
at chicken. At the chicken. No, at the
Chicken.
kitchen.
In the kitchen.
Kitchen.
Oh, okay.
You start on start and you go to spots. Yeah, you go to spot. Then where do you go after spots? Streets, right? Go. You have 1 minute. Go.
Hello and welcome to practiceteaching.com. My name is Stephen Moore and I'd like to introduce to you today a way of organising your lesson into a logical sequence. I'm going to talk to you today about the PPP triangle. This is a method of organising or sequencing your lesson into 3 clear stages so that each stage flows nicely into the next stage and it has a sound pedagogical underpinning for your lesson because each of the stages builds on the previous stage. Let's talk about the PPP triangle. Now the PPP triangle is this shape, this triangular or pyramid shape, because it represents the stages of the lesson in the sense that the teacher talking time is small at the beginning and the student talking time expands as the lesson progresses. So in the first stage, now the first P is presentation. The teacher is presenting the target language. The teacher will be talking somewhat, but this teacher talking time will reduce as we go down the triangle. So the first P is presentation. The second P is practice. And the third P is production. Let's talk about the presentation stage first. There are 3 parts to the presentation stage, and they're really important to do properly, because if you don't do this stage properly, you're going to have problems going on to the later stages. So 3 areas for you to consider when you're giving your presentation stage. And we're talking here about presenting new language to students, presenting the target language, which simply means the language that you're trying to teach the students in that particular class. Okay, the first stage that we're talking about is pronunciation. Second, we need to make sure the students have the meaning of the target language. And thirdly, we need to make sure that the students understand the form of the target language. Let's talk about what that means. First of all, when you're introducing target language, students need to know how to pronounce the language properly. You're going to have to drill the language, model the language, show students how to get the pronunciation right. The next part of the presentation is the meaning. This means helping students understand what the language means, the significance of the words or the phrases that you're teaching. If they don't understand the meaning, they're simply going to be like parrots, repeating the words without understanding what they're saying. The next stage is the form. This means how the language works. If it's a vocabulary item, it might mean the spelling of the language. If it's a grammar point, it might mean explaining the grammar rule, giving some examples of how the language works, the form of the language. Now, by the way, if you're teaching the spelling of the language, I recommend that you teach the sounds of the language first. If you first write the word, students may pronounce the word incorrectly because English spelling doesn't always match to the pronunciation. So, the first stage is presentation. You introduce the target language, help students to understand it, help them get the pronunciation, help them to understand how the language works, the form of the language. Once you're satisfied that you've done that, and you need to check that using concept questions, checking students' pronunciation, we need to move on to the next stage, which is the practice stage. Now this is sometimes also referred to as a controlled practice. It's called controlled practice because it involves the teacher giving a lot of support, if necessary, to the students. The teacher is quite hands-on. The teacher is there to monitor, to support, to give corrections where necessary, especially if the focus of the lesson is on accuracy. The teacher will be quite involved there, helping the students to use the language properly, naturally, correctly, with accuracy. Once the teacher is quite happy that the students have practiced the language, they're using it well, you can then move on to the next stage. The next stage is the production stage, and production stage is sometimes referred to as a free practice. It's called a free practice because the teacher is much less involved. The students have much more freedom to practice on their own, to do an activity where the teacher is a lot more hands-off, a lot less involved. The teacher will be there to monitor, to give support as necessary, but in a much less involved way. So it's more of a chance for the students to show that, yes, they've understood the language, they've had some practice, and they're using it quite accurately and well. They can then move on to using it themselves a lot more. So that gives them some freedom to use the language themselves. So the lesson will move through these stages. Now what happens if you find something doesn't work? Perhaps you get to the practice stage and you find students are mispronouncing the word or they're using the grammar inaccurately. What you need to do then is you need to go back a stage. You need to take a step backwards and do the previous stage again. Go over the particular area where the problem is. If they're mispronouncing the word, you need to go back and you need to drill the pronunciation again, perhaps break it down even more closely, working on particular sounds that you've noticed are problem areas for the students. Once you're satisfied that they've got it, you can then try again, take a step forward and go on to the next stage again. As you see, teacher talking time is reduced at the start, becomes less as it continues. Student talking time is getting more and more involved, it's getting wider, it's becoming more part of the lesson, becoming more student-centred. So that's one of the great advantages of the PPP triangle. It helps you to be student-centred, reduces teacher talking time, and each of these stages builds on to each of the previous stages. You can read more about this in the intensive practice teaching course book, also the audio seminar which is available will cover a lot of this in more detail. Thank you for watching. This is practiceteaching.com. I'm Stephen Moore. Thank you.
Probably one of the newest, although it's in the early 90s, is the lexical approach. In other words, it's a revisiting of the importance of vocabulary in language learning. A very important expert on this area, I don't even know how to pronounce his first name, but Laufer, said vocabulary is no longer a victim of discrimination in second language learning research nor in language teaching. After decades of neglect, lexis is now recognised as central to any language acquisition process, native or non-native. What many language teachers might have intuitively known for a long time, that a solid vocabulary is necessary in every stage of language learning, is now being openly stated by some second language acquisition researchers. So for a long time it was said that it was enough to learn the grammar or the structure and the syntax, or it was enough to learn how to communicate. But vocabulary was sort of forgotten about, or assumed that vocabulary would simply arrive with the other language. And now I think we're beginning to realise that we need to put an emphasis on the learning of vocabulary. So what is the lexical approach? And here I'm summarising some points from the people who developed it. The assumption is that lexis is the basis of language. Which would you prefer to take on holiday? Or what do you think we've got in our pockets while we're here? We've got a phrase book with lots of lexis in it. If we go to a restaurant, it's important enough to be able to say, can I have what I'd like, but actually the important thing is understanding some of the words on the menu and being able to communicate that we want chicken rather than pork. So lexis is the basis of language. Lexis is misunderstood in language teaching because of the assumption that grammar is the basis of language and that mastery of the grammatical system is a prerequisite for effective communication. The key principle of a lexical approach is that language consists of grammaticalized lexis, not lexicalized grammar. So in other words, what the lexical approach says is that you take lexis and you apply grammar to it in order to communicate, rather than the other way around. And that was Michael Lewis, who is the great guru of the lexical approach. And David Wilkins, another guru earlier, said, while without grammar little can be conveyed, without vocabulary nothing can be conveyed.
Oh, now, a little collection of words here. They all come from, well, they've all been taken from an article in your space. And there may be words that, for a sort of low-level student, could be possibly slightly challenging at times, but whatever. What I'd like you to do, and you've only got about 30 seconds to do this, working with someone next to you, is look at those words and try to divide them up into groups. Now you can choose your own criteria, it's up to you. But try to divide them into groups, and at the same time, while you're doing that, try to think of a possible context in which all these words might come together. Now, this is quite interesting because, yes, those words which we've just looked at come from, this is just the beginning of an article. And I have to say also that all of those words which you've seen appear in this article, there are also a couple of other words which, for reasons which you'll see in a moment, we decided to hold back from you. One of which is actually the key word of the text. So if we ignore name, and I suggest we also ignore other at the moment, because that's a key word. Can you imagine in any of those spaces where any of the words you've seen could possibly fit? Now the thing is, imagine your students, they've got this text to read.
Not like that.
Not like this. If they didn't know any of those words, it would be something like this to them. However, there are keywords in this which we haven't given you, and also because they would know some of those words, they would also be able to get a pretty good idea of what this text is about. Whatever happens, the language is rough-tuned. You wouldn't expect students to know all of the lexis here, and also rather more difficult things such as cutting metal, and also like painting the body of the car, so the chassis. And again, maybe students wouldn't know that. And so obviously when teaching, yes, you can pre-teach. Other words have come from context. Other words you decide simply don't need teaching at this point, and they can be visited much later on. You could also go back to the words we saw before and perhaps pull out adjectives and look at other things, other collocations for the use of scary, like scary English or whatever. But you can explore those words in a different way.
Hello students, good morning. How are you today? Come back to your seats, please. Okay, so I hope you came with energy, because we are going to prepare a role play for today. Remember that yesterday we were discussing in a debate that Urdangarin was being Jude and it's being Jude now. So we are going to do a role play about the trial he would have.
Teacher, what do you have in that box?
It's a surprise. I brought you some costumes to make the situation more real. So, I'm going to give you the roles. You will be Urdangarin. You will be Urdangarin's lawyer, Laura. And Lucia, you'll be the government's lawyer.
Yo no sé qué tengo que hacer aquí. Yo soy el abogado de Urdangarin. Vaya peñazo, tío. Bueno, venga, a lo mejor está divertido, ¿no? Sí, a ver.
Well, students, we are going to practice with this activity the present perfect, okay? And we are going to learn some words as well that will be used in the role. Okay, let's go, students. Okay, now it's the turn of Urdangarin's lawyer.
Yes, today I am here to defend the innocence of this man. He is
innocent. He took the money for the people, for social purposes.
And what does the government lawyer think?
I think he is guilty because he used the money to buy a house in America. And he's a thief. He's stealing our money.
I complain.
Money of the government of Spain.
He is the new Robin Hood. I complain.
No, it's no money for the poor. For the poor.
Yes.
It's for him, for his mansion.
No, there is no mansion.
Now I require the Urdangarin's presence. I promise to say the truth. Okay, and how do you declare yourself? Guilty or innocent?
Innocent.
Okay, so I think this case is ready for sentence.
The grammar translation method, which is also known as the grammar translation approach. It is often referred to as the classical method, as it was first used in the teaching of Latin and Greek. This method was used for reading and appreciating foreign language literature under the form of reading passages through grammar rules, vocabulary, and translation with the help of the teacher. It was essentially based on the use of L1 and L2.
You don't know the word. What sentence?
All right, everybody. So we just did a grammar translation style lesson. You've studied the vocabulary, you studied the grammar, and you've translated a passage from Wikipedia.
So, I'm going to give you the roles. You will be Urdangarin. You will be Urdangarin's lawyer, Laura. And Lucia, you'll be the government's lawyer. Well, students, we are going to practice with this activity the present perfect, okay? And we are going to learn some words as well that will be used in the role. Okay, let's go, students.
Yes, today I am here to defend the innocence of this man. He is innocent. He took the money for the people, for social purposes.
And what does the government lawyer think?
I think he is guilty because he used the money to buy a house in America. And he's a thief. He's stealing our money.
I complain.
Money of the government of Spain.
He is the new Robin Hood. I complain.
No, it's no money for the poor.
In Step 3, children independently try out some of the ideas generated during Step 2, and in Step 4 they share the results of their exploratory work. These do not always need to be two distinct steps. In some cases, as with Carrie Tuttleby's guided discovery of dictionaries, the material being explored lends itself to an interweaving of the two steps.
Now you can open up, spread out a little bit so you have one in front of you. Okay, so you're going to look and then we'll talk. I don't know, because they're not brand new.
This is the one that I found scintillating in.
So look at what you see. Okay. Jose, what did you notice?
That if I didn't know a word, but in the dictionary I didn't know a word, but there was a picture and it showed what it was.
Okay. Anybody else know something different? Lydia?
I looked for a rat and there was a picture of a rat.
Okay. Marima, what did you notice?
I tried looking for Harry Potter, but they didn't have it.
Okay. And what about you, Messiah?
At the end of the book, there was sign language.
Now, I want to see if we can together try to find the word glisten. Let's look at it on our poem. Don't open your dictionaries yet. Where do you think we need to look in our dictionaries to try to find the word glisten? Now, we're not looking for the glisteners, just glisten. Where do we have to look, Daniela?
G.
Yep.
G-L-I.
G-L-I. Okay, so let's see. Once you find glisten, put your thumb up. So leave it open when you find glisten.